Right now, your physical access to your own wealth is being quietly throttled. You think the cashless society is a natural evolution of convenience, but the history proves it is a calculated strategy of capital retention. We are currently seeing a global wave of bank branch closures and the systematic removal of cash machines from our streets. You're told it's because you prefer digital payments, but the truth is far more clinical. In 1967, a machine was installed in a quiet London suburb that promised to liberate your money from the restrictive banker's hours of the elite. The automated teller machine, or ATM, wasn't just a convenience, it was the first step in a technological arbitrage that replaced human accountability with an automated gatekeeper. The question is, as the machines we once fought for are now being taken away, have we lost the physical sovereignty of our own capital? This is Redacted Finance. Today, we open the dossier on John Shepherd-Barron and the secret history of the ATM, the invention that effectively liquidated the bank teller and redefined the velocity of money. The past is repeating itself. Our thesis is that the ATM was the Trojan horse for the total digitization of finance, a move that shifted the security burden from the institution to the individual. We will investigate the rise of self-service banking and reveal the 3 crucial signs that your bank is preparing to freeze your liquidity in the digital age. You need this lesson to understand that the convenience of today is the control mechanism of tomorrow. To understand the radical nature of the ATM, we have to look at the monetary friction of the 1960s. In those days, your relationship with your money was strictly intermediated. If you needed cash for the weekend, you had to stand in line before 3:30 p.m. on Friday. If you missed that window, your personal liquidity was effectively zero until Monday morning. The key player was John Shepherd-Barron, an executive at the printing firm De La Rue. Legend has it he was inspired by a chocolate bar vending machine. He asked a simple institutional alchemy question. If a machine can dispense a Nestle bar, why can't it dispense the sovereign currency of the realm? In June 1967, Barclays Bank installed the first De La Rue automatic cashier in Enfield. But the initial conditions were primitive. There were no plastic cards with magnetic strips. Instead, users were issued paper checks chemically impregnated with carbon-14, a radioactive isotope. The machine detected the radiation, matched it with a 6-digit PIN, and dispensed a maximum of 10 pounds. This was the birth of unregulated greed for instant access. But for the banks, the motivation wasn't just customer service, it was operational efficiency. The bank teller was an expensive asset with a high administrative overhead. A machine, however, didn't require a pension, didn't go on strike, and didn't need a lunch break. The first sign of the impending human liquidation was the network effect. As ATMs spread across London and eventually the United States, the social contract between the banker and the client began to fray. We moved from character-based banking to transactional banking. The machine didn't care who you were or what you needed the money for. It only cared about your account balance. This was the beginning of the depersonalization of capital, a shift that allowed banks to scale to mega-corporation status while simultaneously distancing themselves from the communities they served. The point of no return arrived in the late 1970s with the invention of the magnetic strip card and the interbank network. This allowed for cross-platform liquidity. Suddenly, you didn't need to find your bank, you could use any machine. The fatal law passed was the normalization of fees. In 1988, banks realized they could turn the convenience of the ATM into a recurring revenue stream by charging surcharge fees for out-of-network access. This was the moment the ATM stopped being a service and became a profit center. As we move past the mid-roll, we investigate the anatomy of the branch collapse and reveal the terrifying financial terminology of digital enclosure that is currently trapping your wealth. The investigation into the ATM revolution reveals a phenomenon known as algorithmic displacement. By the 1990s, the velocity of money had reached terminal velocity. The ATM had trained the public to accept self-service as a luxury. Let's use precise financial terminology. The banks were engaging in cost-push deflation of their own labor force. For every ATM installed, the marginal utility of a human teller plummeted. Between 1980 and 2010, the number of ATMs globally skyrocketed to over 3 million, while the number of tellers per branch fell by nearly 50%. This was the great decoupling of banking from the community. The core value here is understanding physical redundancy. Once the ATM became the primary touchpoint for personal capital, the physical branch became negative equity. This paved the way for the modern branch closure crisis. In the last decade alone, over 10,000 bank branches have closed in the US and UK. But here is the investigative twist. The ATM is now being liquidated itself. As we move towards central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, the banks are removing the machines to force us into a purely digital ledger. This is the anatomy of the collapse of physical liquidity. When you have a machine, you have a withdrawal right. When the machine is gone, you have a permission to spend. The political fallout of this transition is the financial exclusion of the unbanked and the elderly. But for the financial power structures, this is an asset optimization strategy. By removing the physical infrastructure of cash, they eliminate the risk of a bank run. You can't run on a bank if there's no window to run to and no machine to dispense the notes. The investigation concludes that the ATM was merely a bridge technology, a way to move the speculative fever of the masses from the physical vault to the digital cloud. Look at the modern parallel. We see the same efficiency arbitrage in the rise of AI-driven customer service and neobanks that have no physical footprint at all. We are living through the final enclosure of the financial commons. The lesson for your wallet is the danger of invisible barriers. If your access to your store of value is 100% dependent on a digital permissions layer, you don't actually own your money, you are merely licensing it. The historical findings of this dossier lead to a specific, actionable modern lesson. You must maintain physical liquidity off-grid. The summary is that an automated system is only helpful until it is programmed to say no. The 1967 experiment at Enfield proved that we love the machine, but the 2025 reality proves the machine is being used to demonetize the individual. Don't be the last one looking for a machine that no longer exists. Redacted Finance is a dossier on the technologies that capture our freedom. If you found this investigation into the lost archive of the ATM and the death of the teller compelling, you are starting to see the planned obsolescence of your own financial agency. In our next file, we will examine the credit card dossier, the history of how plastic leverage was used to replace the savings standard and turn a generation into interest-bearing assets. To unlock that file and continue your journey into the history of financial power, subscribe to History and Financial Power and hit the notification bell. Your capital is your only withdrawal right. Don't let it be liquidated by the convenience of the cloud. Are you liquid or are you just logged in? Let us know in the comments below. The archive is closed for today.